Yes, brother.
My name is Devashish Ganguly. I am an engineer by profession and a freelancer journalist. Presently, I am reporting this for a paper. I would like to ask you with a question and answer session. My first question to you, are you proud of your country?
Normally, journalists ask one question, and after I give the reply, the second question is trapping.
Sir,
No,
please
let me
finish it.
Please let me answer, I know.
Let me finish to this allegation.
No.
Let us have this discussion free sense of mind.
Sure, I'll allow you.
Thank you.
I'm not blaming you. I'm telling most of the journalists. I'm not saying you are the same category. You may not be.
Already you have said it.
See, most of the journalists, normally one thing is, brother, I'm in the field. If a person wants to ask only one question, he asks and he goes away. If he has two questions, this is logic. And he's waiting for the first answer. And after I give the first answer, the second question is trapping. If you put both the questions together, then the trap will not be there. But for me, no problem. Answer is the same. Whatever your second question is, I'm proud of my country, India.
That's great.
It is one of the few countries in the world which gives the right for the citizen of India to preach, propagate its religion and practice. I'm proud of my country.
You have answered my second question.
I'm proud in many ways.
You have answered my second question. Thanks.
Thank you. Can we have the next question from the sister?
This is another question by a non-Muslim. Hema Khattar Usman, she writes, you said there are some sheep in Muslim community doing wrong things, which media is propagating. Aren't these Muslims giving media a chance by doing it in the name of religion, which misleads non-Muslims?
The question posed by a non-Muslim is a very good question. That there are some Muslims or black sheep in the community. Aren't these Muslims giving a chance for the media to propagate wrong things about Islam? These black sheep Muslims aren't actually Muslims. A Muslim will never do things which are wrong. A Muslim by definition means as a person who submits his will to Almighty God. Now these people who are black sheep, they are pseudo-Muslims. Their name may be Muhammad, Zakir, Abdullah, Sultan, whatever it is. By name you don't become a Muslim. You become a Muslim by deeds. When you submit your will to Allah, you become a Muslim. So these people actually are not true Muslims, but they have Muslim names. So they aren't bothered whether they're giving a chance to media or not, because they aren't bothered about the religion. Because they're not bothered about the religion, but they are not bothered, so they're least bothered what's happening. But I'm blaming the media. Why is the media picking up the minority? If majority of the Muslims are doing this and then you blame the religion, I've got no problem. But they are picking up this minority. Imagine if I tell you that Hitler incinerated 6 million Jews. Can I blame Christianity for that? If Hitler incinerated 6 million Jews, killed 6 million Jews, can I blame Christianity for that? No. Because nowhere does the Bible say that you have to kill and incinerate 6 million Jews. It will be devilish on my part. So therefore, I am blaming the media more rather than these black sheep. The black sheep are going to be in every community. And I even speak against these black sheep in many of my lectures. But the media is supposed to portray a picture which is true. They can't pick up black sheep and portray as though they're exemplary Muslim. Or they should say, okay, this Muslim has robbed. He's only 1 or 5 or 10 amongst 1 billion Muslims. I've got no problem. But they portray as though every Muslim is doing something wrong. If one Muslim is caught in drugs, as though majority of the Muslims deal in drugs. So this is what the media portrays is wrong, which I object to. The media should portray a fair picture. That's what I want. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, brother.
Dr. Zakir Naik, congratulations and best of luck for starting Peace TV. I request all the audience to give him a big clap. My question is, why is it imperative to circumcise in Islam?
The brother posed the question, is it imperative, is it compulsory to circumcise in Islam? Is it fard? Whether it's not fard. In Islam, it is a sunnah. It's sunnat-e-muakkada, highly recommended sunnah. It is mustahab. It is mustahab in Islam to circumcise. It's not a fard. But there are various reasons for that. I, being a medical doctor, we can give a talk only on why circumcision should be done, but it's a question and answer time. I'll just give you a few points. Today, science tells us that if a man is circumcised, he has less chances of having carcinoma of the penis, of having cancer of the penis. Less chances, negligible chances. If you're not circumcised, there are chances. There are various diseases which can be prevented if a man is circumcised. In circumcision, we cut the prepuce, the foreskin of the organ, of the penis. And here, we realize that where a normal person goes for the call of nature, when he after urinates, there are droplets of the urine remaining in the prepuce, in the foreskin. This causes various diseases. It can cause itching, it can cause inflammation of the skin, it can cause prepucitis, many things. So all these diseases are prevented if you are circumcised. And beyond that, when we go for the call of nature, we even put water, which prevents it further. A person today, science tells us, he enjoys his sexual life more if he's circumcised than non-circumcised. Furthermore, the chances of various other irritation of the skin is not there if you're circumcised. Today, latest research tells us that a man who's circumcised has less chances of having AIDS. The virus of AIDS can spread faster if you're not circumcised. There are various lists of diseases which are prevented. That's the reason today in America, more than 50% of the boys, after they're born, they're circumcised. They're Muslim. Even the Christians in America, the doctor asks the parents, do you want your son to be circumcised? And more than 50% of them are circumcised, not because Islam says that, because they know it is a benefit for the son. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, brother.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Imran Mohammed. I'm an IT manager. My question is regarding the media and conspiracy theories. How should the Muslim respond to conspiracy theories such as America is trying to take over the world, suppressing Islam, etc., etc.? All too often I'm finding Muslims who are not educated in Islam correctly dive into the conspiracy theories more than the knowledge that we should be acquiring. How should the Muslim respond to the conspiracy theories?
The brother has asked the question that how should a Muslim respond to the conspiracy theory by the Americans, etc., against Islam, and we don't have our own knowledge, what should we do? Brother, the first thing we should do is we should know our deen. Unfortunately, most of the Muslims do not know their own religion. That's the reason we are in this problem. If we know deen very well, this media would not have a chance to say what it's saying. Unfortunately, we ourselves don't know our deen. And that's the reason when the media says many things, we Muslims become apologetic, we tend to agree. I'll just give you an example. There was a very good pious Muslim, mashallah. He comes and tells me, Brother Zakir, do you know these Talibans, they are very ruthless people, bad people. I said, why? What happened? Because they beat the woman. I said, who told you? I saw it with my own eyes. Where did you see it? He saw it on BBC. See, I'm not here to defend the Taliban. They are not my friends, neither are they my enemies. I haven't met them. I'm not to defend them. But when I keep on traveling, I meet people. I was in Malaysia giving a talk, and there was a couple. Both of them were doctors. There was a gynecologist and a pediatrician. Both of them were doctors. They spent more than a month in Afghanistan trying to help the injured people. And that lady doctor, she told me, the shot they show on the television, a Taliban hitting the woman, they aren't Taliban. I said, how do you know? I said, see, because I've been with the Taliban. I know how they tie their turban. For example, we as non-Arabs, we will not find a difference between the way the ghatra is tied of the Arabs. But Arab knows that the way an Emirati ties a ghatra is different. The way a Saudi ties a ghatra is different. The way a Kuwaiti ties is different. They know, we don't know. So she being with Taliban, she knows that the way the turban is tied in that shot, it can't be a Taliban. So even the shooting they did in Hollywood, where they did, I don't know, they didn't do a good job. The media can change anything. For example, if I ask you that, how is George Bush? Is he good or bad? You will say he's not good. For example, I will chop off the knot and it will sound George Bush is good. When I show you your own recording, you say, oh, by slip of the tongue, I said he's good. Actually, you didn't say that. You said he's not good. I chopped off the knot. I'll show you, see, this is, brother, you have said he's good. So you will say, okay, it was slip of the, it wasn't slip of the tongue. You wanted to say he's not good. I chopped off the knot and it sounds like he's good. So this is the media plays games. So we as Muslims, what we should do, that we should know our religion very well. We should know our deen very well. And when anyone replies, we should not be swayed by how they portray Islam. And to judge Islam, we should go to the authentic sources, the Quran and the Sahih Hadith. We should not look at what Muslims do or what the Muslim society does. To judge Islam, I'm not going to judge Islam by what the people in India are doing, or Pakistan, or Taliban, or Saudi. I'm going to judge Islam based on authentic sources, the Quran and the Sahih Hadith. So this strategy we use. And when the media portrays something, we should know how to turn the tables over. See, now the person won't ask 2 questions. He only asks 1 question. Why? Because the first answer only was the thing he didn't expect. He didn't expect me to say that I'm proud of my country. He thought I will say I'm not proud of my country. I'm really proud of my country, not that I'm telling a lie. I'm proud of India. And that is a battlefield where a mujahid, jihad, jihad means striving. You know, by my name Nayak, in Sanskrit, Nayak means a warrior, a hero. So by name I'm a mujahid. I have to be in the battlefield. I have to do my job. Therefore, I want to live in Bombay. People said, come here, come there. People are giving me, they're giving me offers to stay in different countries. Your life is in danger. I have to be in the battlefield. That's my battlefield. I love my country for many reasons. For many reasons. Alhamdulillah. And I'm proud of that. So therefore, a Muslim should be trained in the media when they reply to turn the tables over. Hope that answers the question.
Jazakallah.
Yes, sister.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Nayak. Since I'm in the media, I think this is a very relevant question which at times has come across our mind. I'm the editor of a trade journal in Dubai. This is pertaining to actually the Al-Qaeda organization and Osama bin Laden. All of us know that when he was fighting the Russians, he was fighting communism, and what they did in Afghanistan, he was the hero of the masses. Now, many years down the line, this particular hero has turned into a monster. We're all aware of that. Now, my particular statement is this. Journalism is supposed to be objective. It is just supposed to see, report what you see. You're not supposed to infer anything. You're not supposed to come to any conclusion while reporting. And here, the Western media, they created the rules and they're breaking the rules. This is exactly what is happening, and the thrust of your lecture during these 2-3 hours was exactly the same. They changed the rules and play with the rules. How can we, as Muslims, as peace-loving Muslims, draw the attention of the world to this thing which is happening? Like, for example, let me give you something. All the ills of the world, all the violence is blamed on Al-Qaeda, and we have heads of state giving irresponsible statements like such and such a thing, it's by Al-Qaeda. How do you think, as peace-loving Muslims, we counteract something which we see as which is not? I'm again talking about the rules of journalism. There is inference, there is opinion. These things should be separate, but they are being mixed in the news and being given to us. They are being dished out on a platter for the world exactly to believe what they believe, and that Islam is a terrorist religion. Do we have some certain hadith, or do we have some guidelines to show us the road and to show us the path as to what to do now?
Asked a very good question. She's in the field of journalism, and she said that previously Osama bin Laden, when he fought with Russia, he was a hero, and Osama bin Laden was created by the Americans. And later on, when he goes against the Americans, he is called as a terrorist. And as she rightly said, in the rules of journalism, they have to report objectively. And they should not give the opinion. The inference is supposed to be made by the readers, not by the journalist. This is a rule, but rules are made to be broken. In America, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. According to me, the least freedom of speech is in America. Freedom of speech, you can speak as long as it doesn't hurt them. If you don't speak against me, you can speak what you want. But if you speak against my interest, then maybe the CIA will catch you. So according to me, it is only a big farce. It's a hogwash. Freedom of speech. Regarding a question, how should we respond? Regarding Osama bin Laden, is there any hadith, etc.? And I was asked this question.